Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Incomparable and seeing how it fares in 2024. It's been almost exactly 2 years since I've actually played Incomparable on the channel, and in those videos I promised that I would never play it again. If you want to understand what my opinion was of it back then, it really just had poor armor and inconsistent main guns. The gimmicks were strong when it came to speed and concealment, as well as just insane overmatch, and it still retains those features. Unfortunately for us, it does also retain those not very consistent main guns. But that's what you have to expect when you have 508mm guns. We easily overmatch 32mm of armor, and we actually have a pretty quick reload. We have better concealment than most cruisers at this tier, and we're honestly faster than most of them as well. We lack on main gun range as well, but that's not a huge deal since we do have our spotter plane. It can be rough at times, but dispersion like that is just gross, right? I have a lot of games to show you here. I'm going to show you mostly the highlights out of all of these games. I never had one good match where I felt like I played well throughout the whole thing and the ship never let me down, so that I could just show you one full complete match. I have to chop this up a little bit more just because this ship, it's inconsistent, man. It's inconsistent. Sometimes you get the wonkiest dispersion ever, and then other times you're just nuking everything because these shells are so insane. We nearly do 20,000 alpha damage from these shells if we're hitting citadels, which is ridiculous. That is so much damage. That's half of some cruiser's HP pool at this tier. Crazy, crazy, crazy amounts of damage. And so because of that, we can't expect to have perfect dispersion every salvo, which is unfortunate. As you know, I'm really not a fan of these ships where RNG plays a pretty large factor when dealing with enemy ships. Enemy Worcester here pushing in 45,000 HP, just shy of half his health when it comes to getting a single citadel here. We can use things like heavy AP, and I was using that in some of these videos. In fact, I think this is one of the videos where I was actually, one of the games, sorry, I was actually using heavy AP, but I moved away from it. I was having a bit of a tough time staying alive in some of these games, getting an insane amount of potential damage, not getting in range to actually deal with enemy ships. So I'll show you the two builds that I was running later on in this video towards the end. But for now, let's get into one of the more fun experiences I had in Incomparable. A game which is easily lost for our team, unfortunately. But we do have an opportunity to push up using these islands. The enemy team is getting aggressive on the sea cap here, and I want to go brawl. Incomparable is not a brawling ship, certainly. It has no armor to deal with that. Above water citadel, all that stuff is not going to go so well. Torp protection hit there, really, game? Would have been nice to see a citadel there. That's okay. The thing we do have when it comes to brawling is pretty fast turret traverse. Obviously, these guns overmatching pretty much everything, and the speed to maneuver around. On top of that, torpedoes. We have decent 10-kilometer range torps that can do quite a bit of damage. As you can see, I used them to try and zone out the St. Vincent behind me, and I'm going to regret that here in a second because our left side torps are going to be loaded very quickly. Our right side torps, which are the ones we need, aren't going to be loaded in time. I'm skipping out on the Rhode Island broadside for the Thunderer cheek here, just because Rhode Island has a waterline citadel. Thunderers is slightly above water. I figured I would be able to hit that citadel a little easier on Thunder. How wrong I was, as well as thinking about my torpedoes to deal with this Rhode Island, and not realizing we won't have them up in time. 20 seconds from now we will have the right side torps up, but by then it's too late. We'll try again for this Thunderer cheek. You can aim around here and get yourself some citadels just like that. Brawling in an Incomparable feels good, man. Also, we do have our left side torps. We're going to go for those and lead him a little bit too much, I think, looking back on it. Rhode Island's pretty maneuverable. He might be able to stop in time for that and almost get to our next salvo. Unfortunately, we do end up going down, but this was probably one of my better games with this ship. Even though it wasn't the closest when it came to the teams, I still think we performed quite well in this one. And at closer ranges, the guns can certainly get more reliable. I've found, though, that as I'm playing at farther and farther ranges, that honestly, the meta just forces you to play at carriers in a ton of my games. forcing us to play much further back, really negating a lot of the advantages we have with something like the Incomparable, which is concealment and speed to flank, right? It's not that easy to do when there's a carrier in the game constantly spotting you. It's tough, but it is still workable, I think. As for these guns against cruisers, when you get that dispersion, it's unfair. Against the Yoshino in that game earlier, the first game there, we were just doing negligible damage because we just weren't hitting. And yet, then the next time we managed to hit the Citadel, it's 1 billion damage and the cruiser's dead. It's not the most engaging gameplay. It just feels like dice rolls. It feels like, for me, as the Battleship player against that cruiser, that, wow, I just rolled really well, good for me. And then the next times, I roll poorly, and the cruiser just lives and lives and lives. And for the cruiser perspective, obviously it's not very fun when an Incomparable, a battleship that's faster than you and has better stealth than you, can just, if they roll well, nuke your entire ship no matter what angle you're at. That's not fun to fight against at all. So my opinion of Incomparable is not very good, as you can probably tell. The ship does at least have weaknesses, of course, on top of just dispersion. It has a very vulnerable Citadel. In a lot of these games where there are carrier spotting, you can't push up as aggressively, and obviously I got punished here for doing that. This is a great example of a match where the enemy team is going to play quite passively. We're going to be spotted a lot of the time by the carrier, and there's really not a whole lot I can do about it. And we're just going to get whittled down in this match from the longer range battleship AP that's coming in for us. We do get overmatched by a lot of armor piercing at our bow and stern, but even the 32 mil overmatch of a Yamato is pretty scary against an Incomparable, just in general. So dealing with a Nevsky here, bow on, open watering, probably not the way you want to play a Nevsky, let's be honest here. A cruiser, open water, just sitting there, not dodging at all really, is ripe for getting dev struck, or at least taking a bunch of damage from overmatch. But you might have noticed that we didn't really accomplish much with our Shikishima against that bow on St. Louis in the earlier video on that ship, and we struggle against this Nevsky. And then we just smash a Montana that goes broadside. I don't know. It's random, guys. It feels so random when it comes to damage with this ship, and that's really what I don't like about it. I like that it is an interesting ship. I like that it's not just a copy-paste of another Tier 10, where that's where the Shikishima lands. I think Incomparable is much more interesting of a ship, but it suffers from similar downsides, which is really just these main guns. Sometimes they hit for 1 billion, and other times you just miss entirely, and there's not really much you can do about it because you're a 6-gun battleship with insane overmatch and alpha. They're not going to buff the dispersion on something like this. They'd have to change the way overmatch works, certainly. And since I've already mentioned Shikishima here, in these videos we of course are dealing with the steel battleships here. That's what I'm trying to go for with these series of videos this week and a little bit next week, of course. I'm trying to go over these steel battleships and just see which ones are worthwhile. What order would I get them in if I was looking for battleships? And Incomparable comes out in 4th place for me. It is ahead of Shikishima, not because it's necessarily better, as we can see, missing a Monty entirely at 8 kilometers, just ridiculous, but because it's more unique than Shikishima. They suffer from the same drawbacks, I think, and when it comes to the main guns, they're very similar in that way. This one's just more unique, the Shikishima playstyle, and pretty much can be fully enabled by just getting the Tech Tree Yamato, or if you want the gun sounds, get the Tech Tree Super Ship Satsuma. And then we get our gun knocked out, and random RNG says we get a terrible RNG pull from our 1 remaining front turret, and we smash that Monty in the broadside with a Citadel. It's crazy. We get cheek Citadel there, I think, by that devastation. Got a broadside Freddy in this one. Trying to flank, trying to push up in this one. And we get 4 overpens on a broadside Freddy at 8 kilometers. Very nice. You can see, it's just... it feels very random. It feels like a lot of the damage output is just out of my control. I am trying to flank, I'm trying to find broadsides, I'm trying to play from stealth, I'm trying to play far back, I'm trying to push in and brawl. It's just so random, man. And I think the main issue is just you can't make this consistent at all. The only thing it really is consistent at, actually, is hitting ships at mid to close range that have 32 mil of armor for 1 billion damage. You're going to see that a little later on, where I get tired of trying to hit broadsides on a battleship or a cruiser, and I just start going at a Patrie that's bow on to me, and I just do 1 billion damage to him. This game, though, quickly got out of hand for our team, but hey, we sneak up on a Stalingrad, outspotting him easily, and then just smashing his broadside. Brindisi here also can't really angle to us, so we just can shoot anywhere and get some decent damage into him. Trying to finish him off, but this is going to be a loss for our team, of course. Not too surprising, but an okay flank, I guess, in this one. Didn't quite go to plan, I guess. All right, next game. What happened in this one? Oh yeah, we're gonna see a Zhao that just lives every broadside shot. That's what this one is. Here we go, first shot of the game. We got ourselves a Zhao that is broadside. He's going to turn out, so we aim up, and we get not great dispersion, but maybe those front guns can do a little something. Our rear guns are very cross-eyed. And we just land all around his ship. Yeah, all 6 shells pretty much decided to go to a different corner of the ship, and only 2 hits for basically 0 damage. Lovely. That's awesome. I'm sorry. Incomparable might be your favorite ship. I apologize, okay? Don't let me keep you from having fun or enjoying the ship, okay? This ship can do well, and if you're having fun with it, keep having fun with it. Don't let some random YouTube guy prevent you from having fun with it, okay? But I'm just letting you know my experiences with this ship are not very positive. There, again, we smash a Devastation there. It was broadside. What's the difference between the Devastation turning out and the Zhao turning out? I don't know. It seems like we should probably crush the Zhao more consistently than the Devastation, given how their armor profiles are, but what do I know? I'm gonna reiterate that, though. Keep having fun with this ship if you're enjoying it, okay? Don't let me or anyone else prevent you from having fun just because someone else says they don't like the ship. If you're enjoying it, continue to enjoy it. Look at the Torps doing some nice damage as people push in. This ship does have a lot of strengths, and if you're doing well and having a good time, continue to do well and have a good time with it. For me personally, I just don't enjoy the inconsistency of it, and that's what I really want to highlight in this video and really explain why this ship lands in 4th place, 4 out of 5 on the steel battleships list as far as what ships I would get in what order. Does at least beat out the Shikishima, so there is that, just because it is more unique. Torp protection hit there, Zhao slows down and turns out. We all know how that works in the current aiming system. Very, very difficult to actually hit a cruiser that slows down and turns out on you, just because the aiming system is going to pull your shells away from the ship. That's just kind of how the aim assist works in this game. It works to force you to miss, unfortunately. But another Torp protection hit on him. I don't know if I aimed that one necessarily properly. That one might have just been a miss. And one for the road here. Decent game still, 203, it's fine. But this Zhao, man. Broadside again. Sure, maybe I aimed that one slightly too far back. But he's on 6,000 health, man. Okay. Next up. What's next? Oh, yeah, even more pain. All right. What happens if you're a broadside Carno and an Incomparable catches you at 9 kilometers? What happens to your Carno here, okay? That's what I want to know. You probably would explode, wouldn't you? Well, not this guy. This guy does not. He does not care. It's just like, why, man? Why can't I get the damage there? I would way rather get the massive hit there than when this guy is inevitably going to be more angled and I just overmatch gimmick him. That's not fun. For me, that's not fun. I don't think that's fun for cruiser players either. Sure, I play battleships mostly, but I've played a lot of cruisers too. I hate Overmatch. It is so annoying. It feels unfair. It feels so unfair that a battleship just camping the back, spamming AP that just happens to be high enough caliber to deal with my armor, says, haha, get gimmicked, here's 30k to your forehead, right? And I'm playing angled, you know? It's annoying. At least there he's somewhat more broadside. That wasn't fully angled, but we do get a Citadel there. But why not the first one? You know, why not give me the Citadel when he's on that flat broadside stationary 9 kilometers, you know? That's my problem. And maybe I'm just, maybe I've played this game too long. Maybe my expectations are far from what is reasonable, but I just feel like the game used to reward you for being angled more, and it used to punish you for being broadside more. And maybe that's just some rose-tinted glasses. Maybe that's just hindsight bias, where I'm looking at the past of this game where it seemed like it was better than it is now when it comes to dealing with broadsides and angled ships. But I don't know, I really do feel like a lot more ships used to have bigger citadels, and we used to have less overmatch. Maybe I'm wrong with that. You can let me know. That one I'm genuinely don't know about. But I would like to see the game go towards punishing broadsides more and not clapping out people who are angled as much. I think that would be nice. Dealing with this Kitakazi here, we at least do have a personal hydro on this ship, so we can see some torps coming ahead of time. Unfortunately, not quite able to dodge. This is a big ship, of course. But that hydro is certainly very useful for such a massive ship. And coming around the corner now, we do have the Yoshino, which we expected with those torpedoes. Torp's good for zoning, of course, as well as when you're in close ranges, just trying to get more damage in on enemy ships. Unfortunately, we get a torp protection hit there out of our rear gun on this guy. We'll try and aim for that bow citadel to overmatch through, and we do get 2 sits there. Big damage, very nice to see, and barely able to survive against the Yoshino AP there. I'm surprised he didn't kill us right away with his armor piercing, but we do manage to barely live this one. But I will go down in a little bit. But still, 204 in that one, pretty decent. But the potential damage in this one was quite high, I think, for an Incomparable. 3.5 million potential damage for a ship this lightly armored is pretty good. Okay, we have a Ohio that looks to be potentially turning broadside to us to get between this gap in the islands here. We're waiting, we're patient, we're in stealth, right? This is perfect opportunity to get a nice salvo in on this Ohio. He's gonna go for his turn here soon, and we aim a little bit up, just a tiny bit, to deal with that aim assist pulling our shells low. That's really what I wanted to do there. I think we land midship, perfect, for 2 overpens. Lovely. This game hadn't been going too well for me at this point, so I decide to give up and just shoot the angled battery. This is what I mentioned earlier. Just shoot the angled ships, man. It sucks. It sucks. People go broadside. You're so good with concealment and flanking with this speed as well. You're so excellent at going and finding those broadsides, and it's so inconsistent at punishing broadsides. Just shoot the big giant battleship that you overmatch everywhere. Guaranteed massive damage. That's so sad that I have to say that, man. That's so sad. This ship should be an assassin. This ship should be the gets on your flank quickly without you realizing, and you just explode. Which is OP, let's be honest. The stealth and the speed on this ship with these guns, if they hit things, is OP for sure. So, of course it has to be more random, but it's so annoying that the best target here is not actually the ship that's turning broadside to me with these big guns. The best target here is actually the one that's most angled to me. Patry goes broadside here, and keep in mind we did nearly 30k with the first salvo. It was like 22 or 23 with the second salvo, I think. Broadside on, are we going to do that much? We do actually close to that, 22,000. But the most damage we got on this Patry was when he was fully angled to us. I don't like that. I really dislike that. I wish it was. I wish it was the opposite, man. I want it to be the opposite. But hey, this is the ship we've got, and this is why I rate it so low. I don't like the playstyle, and I don't think it's actually all that great. Even though I've had some really excellent games with this ship, I really just don't like the playstyle. For me, I do think it is worse than the other 3. Mecklenburg, Laria, Bourgogne. I would way rather get those 3 before this ship. The other thing is just struggling to push in. With this last match here, trying to push in. We got some reasonably okay matchmaker here. Carrier in this one, but this flank is relatively empty, so decided to try and push in and see what we could make work with this Incomparable here. With the speed boost, we're pretty quick. We have our long-lasting personal hydro, so torps, hopefully we can dodge. Ton of overmatch in the Umahari there, so 20k damage, very nice. Surprised I actually didn't take more from him when I was broadside to him there, but we get quite lucky on that. Carrier for us, sure, but we are getting quite close to actually just spotting him ourselves. This Umahari, 20k left, he's angled, so of course we're going to do some nice damage. If he were broadside, I would trust it less at this point, wouldn't I? Yeah, 15k, leaving him just barely alive. Decent damage though, but more importantly, we find the carrier. We've pushed aggressively, barely 5 minutes into this match, we're already almost in the enemy spawn, and we've found the carrier. So even if we die here, I will be happy if we manage to take this guy out. And since it's a Russian carrier, it does have a reasonably large citadel. Now, we are caught in a crossfire, of course, but at least most of the enemy team is on the opposite flank, and they have other things to worry about than us, right? So we should be just dealing with the Schultz, Zhao, and the carrier, of course, and this Hampshire. But with our next salvo hoping to take out the carrier, we shouldn't have to deal with him for too much longer. And not the best game in this one. Only at 83k already, but still. Getting the carrier here, that's worth it. That's worth it. That's worth it. So I will die happily in this game now, but hopefully we can live a little bit longer. And out of nowhere come Mecklenburg salvos from 25 kilometers out. This is what I was dealing with in comp as well. Anytime I tried to make a move anywhere, it seemed like everyone across the map decided to turn and come looking for me. So that was a little bit rough. Again, 4 overpens on a Hampshire here. Very large citadel that we can overmatch angle into. It's not that hard. Just don't get the dispersion for it, I guess. It's unfortunate. But our teammates will help take him out for us. But this one is going to end with us actually taking a torp and dying. And that's the games I've got for you. We'll take a look at the build and I'll have some final thoughts, but there you go. That is the gameplay. I really tried, guys. I played a lot of this ship. I really tried. And I still just don't like it. I'm not a fan. And as for the build here on the Incomparable, I did swap things out partway through playing this thing just because I was really struggling to get in range without just getting focused out, and I was dealing with a lot of carriers as well. So here is the build. I actually swapped to range mod. Feels bad, but I was just getting too many games where I was just getting locked out. This ship does not have the best armor when focused. You do want to be in concealment. You do want to use this speed and concealment to get around the map, limit the number of people shooting at you at one time, and try and find those broadsides. And that can certainly happen. But I was, yeah. it was an experience, I guess we'll say. A lot of attention for this ship. The other build that I did run was actually not taking these 2 skills here. And I also didn't take Grease the Gears, and then I would take Super Heavy AP and Furious. That was the other build that I was running. But I swapped over to this one just to be a little safer against those carriers, that spotting. And, you know, when we're not having Furious and Super Heavy AP, we're not as incentivized to let fires burn, and so therefore we're a little tankier. That's what it comes down to here. But I would recommend Reload if you can get away with it, if you don't find yourself being focused down as much as I was in these games. And yeah, Super Heavy AP and Furious can certainly work here. You have a super heal, right? You have a super heal, so the fires don't matter quite as much. You're not the focused tank battleship anyway, so it's not like you're gonna eat a ton of damage and then the fires that last a little longer are gonna kill you. You're not trying to play that role anyway, so I don't see much wrong with running that original build, but I had to move away from it, let's just say. Engine boost is amazing, of course, running engine boost mod 1. Our hydro is really, really handy. It's not going to spot ships, but just keep you safe from torpedoes, mainly a little bit better. So it's very nice for that. And then our spotter plane, usually enough, but I found in a lot of these matches I was just zoned out too hard. Armor-wise, yeah, it's not great. The middle is okay, certainly, but yeah, that's not great. We also have this nice little shelf, which can catch a lot of damage if you are kiting away from people. And then, of course, we do have that citadel, which is above water and pretty easy to hit. So you're probably going to take quite a bit of damage here. There's a bit of a turtleback, but I mean, let's be honest, that is not a very well angled turtleback at all. So people can punch through that pretty easily at this tier. But I think that's going to do it for the Incomparable here, this relook in 2024. It's all right. It's still the same ship. It still has the same problems, and I'm still probably not going to play it very often, personally. I just get too frustrated while playing it. The inconsistencies are just a little too much for me. It can hit hard. It can flank well. The concealment's insane. It is a strong ship. I just find it too inconsistent. So that's my reasoning behind this one's ranking at number 4 out of these 5 steel battleships. Again, I'm going to reiterate this again. Please take this to heart. If you're enjoying this ship, don't let what I have to say and my complaints about it impact your enjoyment of this ship, okay? I know this is going to happen. It inevitably happens every time I talk about why I don't like a specific ship in this game. People take it like I am attacking them or something. That is not what I'm doing here. I'm just telling you why I don't like the ship. And for those of you interested in getting the ship, I want to explain why I'm not a huge fan of the ship and maybe help you to pick which one you would like. If these things, the problem is the issues I have with this ship aren't something you really care about and you want to experience the strengths of this ship, then go for it. Enjoy the ship as much as you possibly can. But that is going to do it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.